So the weekend has gone by, and hopefully you've all had time to see Spider-Man Brand New Day, because some of you guys, man, you are already having your spoiler talks out, and now you've had a chance to. Hopefully this is our spoiler-filled talk. This is everything I wanted to get into with spoilers, but this is actually surprisingly such a hard movie to talk about without spoiling stuff, because there's a lot that goes on in Brand New Day, and it's all the more unique for it. I think what really makes Spider-Man Brand New Day really work is the fact that there's filled with surprises. I kind of do envy the people that didn't go in seeing a lot of the movie, because jumping into it immediately we're met with that new tone and feel that is completely different and separates itself from the Watts trilogy. Destin Daniel Cretton is at the helm, and you can feel the complete difference in tone and style right from the start, because I do think, again, Spider-Man is a character that should transcend genres. He's someone who is beyond just one thing, and my thing with the Home trilogy in perspective is that it kind of paints Spider-Man in one light throughout, where I feel like Spider-Man can be beyond that, and we're immediately met with that different feeling with Spider-Man Brand New Day. It opens up and you immediately feel that different tone in this, as we really simmer and sit in the isolation of Peter Parker and what he's feeling right now, the isolation he's going through. What I like about this movie is that it's able to blend that big grandiose style, comic book crazy zaniness and action with really personal and intimate stakes. It's the most intimate Spider-Man movie we've gotten yet with the character of Peter Parker, as we're exploring his isolation post Aunt May's death in No Way Home. Now we're seeing Peter isolated, we're seeing him alone, and I really love that we're met with that sense of dramatic irony right from the start. That opening montage, incredible shit, and I knew this was going to be the one immediately, because we start off and we actually hear the song played from Wolf Like Me by TV on the Radio is the first song in the opening montage, and that immediately sets the tone for what is going on with the character. But also it's good dramatic irony in the sense that it's telling us about Spider-Man, showing him what he's doing now. It's that badass thing we've been waiting to see with Spider-Man in New York City, stopping crime, doing his thing in a lived-in world. He's taken out Tombstone, Tarantula, a couple of other characters like Boomerang that are more deep-cut characters in the Spider-Man lore that I love that we get to see here, even though they're not big in the movie. It's another thing I love about it is how focused it is. I love that this opening montage was illustrating that, yes, don't worry, it's a lot of stuff we're juggling, but that's not the point of it. We're not going to have a bunch of villains overcrowding this movie. It's one focused central plot, one thing causing everything. And that starts off with the fact that we meet Peter Parker in this moment, feeling alone, feeling isolated, and just stopping crime in the city. It's all world building. The action is a visual storyteller, telling us about what's been going on in Peter Parker's life and how he's juggling the world of Spider-Man. He's stopping crime left and right. And I like that here. It immediately has great dramatic irony, because it's met with that cool comic book coolness that you're excited to see Spider-Man doing his thing, but at the center of it, still a very sad existence Peter Parker's going on. He's looking at videos of Ned and MJ living their lives out, and it's really getting to him. You can tell that it's one of those things, kind of a sad existence, because he's just spending his time stopping crime and watching those videos. The whole time he's watching his friends live their lives on social media before he puts his mask on, drops into crime, and does his thing. It's a very lonely existence for him, and the movie really simmers in that in the first act and never really loses sight of that. Another thing that really did stand out to me is the use of Zendaya in this. I love her in this movie because it really clicked with me on second watch. Especially, there's a lot of things on second watch with Brand New Day that work as a double meaning. I love that. But especially with MJ, you really get the feeling that Peter and MJ have evolved into the comic book counterparts of their characters. MJ feels so much like Mary Jane in this. She feels so much like MJ in the movie. A, she has the red hair. It looks great. But also B, she feels like she has that bit of a spitfire, talk shit back attitude that I associate with canonical MJ that I wish we have gotten to see. I didn't see that in Kirsten Dunst. I like that we're seeing that here, though. And it really sings when she's talking to Frank Castle, who's also a great addition in this. I'll get into him in a bit. But I love that we get to see, and that's when it clicked to me on second watch, is her responses to Frank Castle. She's willing to talk shit to the Punisher when he's going off about how, like, oh, I have all these rules. MJ's just like, so 3 rules. You have 3. The fact that she's willing to do that to the Punisher, and then Punisher's like, I see what you like a kid. It feels so within character for him, but also I love the fact that MJ feels like that. I feel like she's grown into an MJ we could know, like from the comics, someone who's willing to talk that shit, but also be formidable. And I like how she's able to be in danger in this, but also escape the damsel in distress trope as well. This movie escapes a lot of Spider-Man tropes, actually. But keeping in the consistency of what we're doing here with the story, I love how focused it is, because it is one thing causing a cascade of events, and that is in the fact that it's Jean Grey at the center of it. I couldn't really talk about Jean Grey without getting into spoilers, so it was really hard to navigate that, but I really loved her addition. It's one of those characters in the movie where I was like, man, if the story really wanted to have some balls, it will go here and do that. If they're not willing to, though, Oh my god, they are. The fact that they had made Jean Grey the antagonist, that was a very ballsy move, and it brought a lot of nuance into the story that I'll get into. But before we dive into that, we do have Peter's arc, and diving into him first, his isolation. You have to live with that before we get into Jean. And I like how this movie really simmers in that. It also feels grounded in the filmmaking approach. The technique here is so good because it feels street level. You're following Spider-Man on a street level detective style crime. He's talking to DeWolf, and the fact that we get to see DeWolf on screen is great, but also the fact that he's talking to her, that's like the kind of back and forth you have. So you can have a plot where Spider-Man's trying to figure out what's going on, and being a superhero that's investigating one simple task that evolves into a bigger thing while being focused on the narrative of his loneliness, because it's his work, he's diving into it. So we're seeing that. He talks to DeWolf, and you get insight into his character through those conversations. You get insight into Peter Parker's conversations with his friends as he talks to them from an outside external level. And the filmmaking really hones in on that to make it a focused piece, and I really appreciated that. The filmmaking matches Peter's whole mentality, you know, like what was great about Brand New Day is that even though it has so many other characters that show up, they're all a reflection of Peter's isolation and what he's going through internally. Yelena is a direct reflection of Peter and her loneliness and isolation. Someone who is used as a weapon has experienced extreme loneliness. Punisher, Frank Castle, someone who has experienced extreme isolation, also extreme loneliness. Hulk, someone used as a weapon, also extreme loneliness. All reflections of Peter Parker's arc in this movie, so they're never distracting from the fact that Spider-Man is at the center. It keeps it a character piece that's focused but also fun and has its cake and eats it too at the same time. It transcends the genres and elevates itself to be more than just a comedy like the previous trilogy before it. The fact that Jean Grey at the center was so nuanced of an antagonist. I love that the online conversation is, I feel like, what the movie's intending. I like that there are a camp of people going like, look, this person is just irredeemable. They've done terrible things. And the movie puts you in the perspective of seeing that. That shit on the rooftop is so diabolical, and it really makes you put against her. You know, the whole mental game of messing with Peter, making her believe that MJ is actually like getting the memories back and in love with her, the way in love with him, and the way he cries, and the way that she goes like, go ahead, Peter, touch her. It's fucked up. And it does paint Jean Grey in a flawed light. But at the end of the day, she's a troubled youth, and the movie approaches that conversation with nuance, like the X-Men should. It's kind of my worry, is like we need a world where these people feel persecuted against. I like that this movie had the bravery to make us, the audience, persecute against her ourselves because of what we see of her. So we follow Peter Parker along in that journey of learning empathy and wanting to help this mutant. It makes us root to want to help the mutants too. It also shows why Xavier is a necessary person in this whole thing without distracting from the fact that this is a Spider-Man movie first. Spider-Man would totally help Jean Grey. It's within character for him to do so, so it's still a Spider-Man lesson and a Spider-Man story, a Spider-Man journey at the end of the day. And I love the fact that at the end of the day, it is, throughout this whole movie, we see Peter saving people from her. So at the end, when Peter is saying that, look, you're not a killer, it's like, yes, it makes sense because she's flawed. She's done this stuff, but at the end of the day, she's a troubled youth. She's not in the third act of her life. She's not at the end of it. She has a chance to grow. She has a chance to be better. That's what this movie's about. If Loki can get a pass after trying to cause genocide, I think Jean Grey has a chance of redemption, guys. It was fucked up, but I do see a world where this Jean Grey is willing to reform, is willing to grow, and I'm captivated to see that. But I like that it was isolated in a Spider-Man story without just feeling like X-Men setup. Why the fuck would Peter call her a killer? What would that do? What would that help? The whole idea is that Peter's using that as a method to convince her otherwise. He's trying to show that she is better. So I love that moment where it's a moment of focusing up. It got me, man, where he just says, you know, I just need to show her a lesson that I was shown by Aunt May. She just needs to see it. He doesn't even need to say the words. He just lets her in finally after a whole movie of leading to this. And we get to see the memory of Aunt May with Sadie Sink in place of it. We see Jean Grey take the place of Peter and just hear the words of what Aunt May said to him when she found out he was Spider-Man. And it's just an endearing moment of empathetic learning for both characters. Both of their arcs come to a head here. It's the most nuanced approach to a Spider-Man antagonist I think I've seen in his live-action movies, and it can't go unnoticed. I just think it's so well done, and it's so human, and it doesn't let the joke, or it doesn't make a joke, it doesn't ruin the moment. It's very authentic, but given the way Punisher is handling it, the way he does, the way he emotionally handles trauma, he goes about it the wrong way. It's not the way he takes the shot. And that moment is so Spider-Man. Immediately, he empathizes with Jean, wants to save her, is talking to her, here's the bullet, moves Jean out of the way, takes the shot. Dude takes a 50 cal to the back. Spider-Man can't, wow. That is such powers. He falls to the ground. When he hit the ground, I believed he was dead. This movie did a great job at pulling at the heartstrings with that. I really thought they might commit to this. The fact that Tom Holland's been talking about wanting to be done, I could see this being the outing for him, and I was like, there's no way they're doing this. So the fact that he makes it was all the more emotionally enthralling. And the hospital scene with Frank Castle is probably my favorite MCU ending. This thing just hit. First watch, second watch, this scene just hit because the Punisher felt so earned in this. Frank Castle's addition in this movie is some of the best use of using an external character from another MCU property and putting him in a Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. I love their dynamic so much. It was so lived in, so character driven, so earned. The fact that he's more than a cameo made me so relieved. I love that Frank Castle was a character, an active force in this movie. He changes the narrative and affects it. I love that here we get to see an arc where Frank Castle and Peter come to an understanding, and I like that though they approach their situations differently, so they have a clash that's believable. They have different personalities that would clash. You know, in this world where other characters come from different backgrounds, different stories, different motivations, they would handle situations differently. I like that this movie remembers that. It reminded me of that magic I loved of Phase 1 Marvel and Phase 2 Marvel, where the characters actually had contrast. So when they clashed, it was fascinating to see the dynamic. This really earned that. The moment that just when they argue, and they're arguing about what happened on Staten Island to MJ, and they're just going off about how it went down, and you're just like, what do you think about that? Like that was so funny, yet within character. This has some of the best comedy because it never distracts from the drama. Anytime this movie's funny, it's coming from a genuine character dynamic that would be naturally funny, so it works. It's one of the funniest MCU movies for that because the drama never gets compromised in it. Anytime there was a joke that was meant to be there, I was laughing. Except for maybe like some of the Hulk jokes that were a bit too kind of self-referential for my liking when he goes to the university and visits Banner. That's a great scene of them bonding over science. I love Bruce's addition to this in a sense that, again, he feels like a character. They would bond over their science, so it feels character-driven. It feels within the writing. That one joke with the students just in Hulk face, and he does the Hulk smash moment. Didn't need it. Of the jokes, though, it's really the only one that didn't quite land for me. Other than that, it felt great, especially Punisher and Frank. Their characters were more than that. It was so endearing to see Frank grow and be inspired by this kid that when he gets to the hospital bed moment, and he looks at Peter and he's telling him how much he's never seen bravery like that, that is probably the best Spider-Man scene. Everything about that scene worked for me. From the moment they talk in the hospital to the moment that Peter says, hey, look, did I just see you crying? And they laugh about it. But then Frank looks at him and is like, look, I know how to get you out of here. And then he sends Peter down the stairs to walk through the crowd as Punisher wears the mask to look like Spider-Man's still in the hospital to hide his identity. Everyone thinks he's gonna die. The scene previously, you get that great comic book shot where Frank's carrying him in. Like, I need a medic. And you're just wondering, sitting there the whole time, like, is Spider-Man gonna die in this movie? This could be it. But that moment after where they reconcile, and it's just a moment of genuine emotional authenticity between these two men, this beautiful moment of male vulnerability that you don't see a lot in media, and I love how this movie highlighted it, and it really just hit home. Them sharing some tears together after a journey. Oh my god, I'm getting misty-eyed thinking about it. It's probably my favorite MCU moment. Holy shit. It's just something about it struck home. I think it's the fact that Punisher, and what I love about him in this movie, is that he never distracts from the Spider-Man arc, but he also feels like the Punisher at the end of the day. He feels like he was never stripped out of his own identity. There was no point where I was like, oh my god, he's not dropping F-bombs. This is distracting. Like, I never really thought that. I'm so impressed with how they made him fit naturally in. That moment, man, where he sends Peter out there through the crowd and pretends to be Spider-Man, and he's like, ugh. What really hit me, especially on second watch, I do feel like Frank Castle did that also to show that Peter Parker, through seeing the crowd cheer on the idea that Spider-Man's up there, he knows that Peter's seeing them cheer. He knows that that crowd in that moment would give Peter a positive feeling he needed. The fact that Frank Castle's willing to do that for Peter sings. It goes a miles, and it just hits all the right beats, man. That moment where they're all cheering and he sees that kid dressed up as Spider-Man cheering about Spider-Man. He does the web logo. Dude, don't even get me started. Like, the waterworks were hitting in the theater. I had to like just take a minute. It really just poetically brought the entire movie into perspective. You get that moment of pure melancholy where Peter's sitting on the roof looking at New York, and it's one of the best Spider-Man shots, if not the best Spider-Man shot in the MCU we get of him just sitting on that building, looking at the city, after he's grown. And what I love is like it is a direct parallel of the first shot in the movie where he's upside down with New York in contrast to it. Now he's right side up with New York at the end, showing his growth on the sunrise instead of looking upside down on more of a gray backdrop. I really appreciated that the visual storytelling was on another level in this one compared to the previous Home trilogy. I keep saying that. I also really loved how they handled the body horror elements of this, or at least the scientific spider side of Spider-Man. It never went full man spider, which I didn't want necessarily. I actually felt this handled his Peter's internal body struggles and how that shows externally what he's going through internally. I thought that was very well handled. I thought it was even done better than Spider-Man 2 because it felt a little more balanced in its storytelling of it. I like that here it's like an element where you see this is something that Peter, the arachnid power itself isn't what's bad about what Peter Parker is going through. It's the fact that Peter Parker is rejecting that he's going through this human emotion of too much sadness, too much overstimulation. He's not taking that balance in life. And it's the fact that he was rejecting it when he gets it and not embracing his struggles, his flaws. That conversation with Banner and Peter reflect that poetically. But the fact that it's something that is like, what if you're trying to suppress something that doesn't need to be suppressed? So by the end, when Jean asks him the question, it's like, are you Peter Parker? Are you Spider-Man? He takes that moment, he focuses up, he hones in, and he embraces his inner struggle. He embraces himself. I love that this movie uses the body element of it, the organic webbing developing, as a dramatic metaphor for what he's going through. It's a storytelling device to give us something about the character. This is a complete Spider-Man piece. The fact that this is a drama about Peter growing through what he's been through in his loneliness, to help Jean Grey come through that, to make Jean Grey feel so authentically woven in, is something of a revelation I never expected to see in a Spider-Man movie, and it makes it all the more unique for it. The fact that it's one thing cascading everything from the Hulk fight, which is so badass, dude. Every moment in that could have been just, it's a painting brought to life, it's a comic book brought to life, the dynamic, the bickering between Frank and Peter handling the situation, the intensity, Hulk coming back as Rage Hulk, bringing back the Jekyll and Hyde flavor that I missed from Hulk, showing that that's an integral struggle with Bruce too that he needs to still deal with. I do feel like the movie is addressing the fact that Hulk kind of, or at least Bruce Banner kind of suppressed an entire person by doing that to the Hulk. I think that's the reason Hulk was mad in this too when he came back. But all of it coming down to the fact that it's, at the end of the day, being a cause and effect from Jean Grey trying to save her sister, finding out her sister dies, which is a gut-wrenching scene, by the way. VMAX, the whole thing with that was really sad to see, and on double meaning it's really sick. And you find out Peter's just around the guy they should be going after the whole time. It's one of those things where, like, yeah, he turns out to be evil, but I expected it and I wanted it to happen because I wanted Jean Grey to go in this arc that the movie then brought her on. I was like, yeah, the movie doesn't have the balls to have that nuance. And then it did. But the fact that all of this is caused by Jean Grey, and it's a down to an emotional moment where Peter has to come to just confront Jean Grey and talk to her. And all this stuff is caused by her to begin with. It really makes the story come into focus. It really is the tightest, I think, most focused Spider-Man plot that we've gotten out of all of them. Even all the other Spider-Man movies, to me, I've had at least one glaring issue that kind of drags it, or at least something that has stood out to me where I'm like, they could have developed this a little more. Could have really honed in on this a little more. I don't really have that with Brand New Day. It's the first Spider-Man movie I've had, I think, period, live action wise, where I just think it kind of just hits all the marks just right. It has focus, it simmers on the emotional moments, it's character driven, it has beautiful commentary on who Spider-Man is. It's a character study, but it's action packed. It has some of the best action in a Spider-Man film. It has some of the best color in a Spider-Man movie. It looks beautiful. The comic book frames are caught to life. A couple of jokes to land for me in one scene. I can't tell you what else. I don't really have a lot of problems with this one. It's nuanced, it's emotional, it's character driven, it's heartfelt, but it's also brave. Like that conversation with MJ where he just tells Peter and lets him know, it's like, look, I don't love you. It's so honest. And the acting from Tom Holland just sells it. These two are married, and they sell the fact that those memories did not stick. But your bro will always remember that last bit of the movie where they shake hands. It really hits home. I'm really curious to see where that's going to go next, and I like that I'm curious. It's the most curious I've been for Spider-Man in the MCU period, to see what's happening next. This is the one that just culminated it all for me into bringing it, honing it in that Tom Holland is the most emotionally earned grown Spider-Man we've gotten on screen. He's really earned his way up as my favorite, I think. This is one of those journeys, man, where I was appreciative of it because, like, I was not a naysayer of Tom Holland, but I did have my issues with the Home trilogy where I was like, they're not delivering on what Tom Holland can fully potentially deliver on for Spider-Man, and I feel like he wants to do it. And this is the movie where that proof is there, man. He just nails it. This is the Spider-Man I've wanted to see on screen for years, and I'm glad now, retrospectively looking back, we've gotten this far to earn it. We've gotten to Peter Parker and Spider-Man that has grown for 10 years, has earned his stay for 10 years. It's beautiful. I can't wait to see where it goes next. Cherry on top, a Jean Grey that's not just obsessed with Logan, We can all be happy about that, right? Guys, Spider-Man Brand New Day just hit all the marks. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. It's my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. It just hits all the marks, man. I loved it. What is your favorite part of Spider-Man Brand New Day? What is the best element of the movie for you? Thank you so much for watching Scatterbrain Reviews. If you've watched my videos regarding Spider-Man this month, hey, listen, it means a lot. And I just appreciate it, man. Thank you. The fact that you've taken the time to just look at my videos, check them out, it means the world to me. I feel a connection when it comes to Spider-Man, man. Like, I love connecting with fans about this character, and if you've come on this journey with me, watched any of these videos, it means a lot. Thank you so much. Guys, what are you most excited to see where Spider-Man goes next? What is your favorite moment of Brand New Day? Thank you so much for watching Scatterbrain Reviews. Leave a like, leave a comment, come talk about movies with us, come talk about stories with us. I will see you next time.